Welcome to the show today, Robina. I am so thrilled to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you.
Don't you love it when all of a sudden our paths cross and there are multiple people saying, you two need to meet and have a conversation?
I know it's so good. And we don't really even know what's going to come out of this. So that's really exciting.
No, we do not. We're going to start with tell us who you are and what you do right now in the world.
Yeah. So my name is Robina Abramson-Walling. I am a mom of four and I have my PhD and doctorate in natural medicine. And I basically blend the world of medicine. So I come from a background of nursing. And I blend it with quantum physics. So it's literally about not just your physicality, it's about your energetic body, it's about the thoughts that you have, and it's about your connection to consciousness. So I kind of take all of those facets of you, work on 5 different levels, and help you really develop the life that you want and get rid of all the things that are in your way from having it.
Okay, so I love this. I'm curious, when did you go this route? If you started out with nursing, which is
Yeah.
more traditional medicine, what took you in this direction where you're like, this something's missing?
Oh, yeah. Well, in 2000, I actually graduated as a holistic nurse, which was like far ahead of where we were. And I remember like learning about being with your client and spending time with them and understanding like who they are and how their illness, their health issue really translated into their everyday life, not just about the moment that they had surgery. So I worked at a teaching hospital in Toronto, Mount Sinai. I was an inflammatory bowel surgery nurse. And then I just realized that the way that I loved spending time with my patients and understanding like who they were, what their backstory was, I always loved like hearing about how they met with their significant others. Like I really developed a really great relationship with them. But the more that I worked, the more I realized that they had no time for that. Like the healthcare system did not create that time for that because people were getting more acutely sick and those time that they were staying in the hospital was shorter. And so there was no time to be with people and it was all about doing. And so I was really traditionally somebody who really enjoyed statistics and I like science and I like facts. So the spiritual realm of things was never on my radar. And so I really performed in the masculine energy a lot. That being said, I realized that there was a disconnect. So I was searching and I was searching for answers. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to step down unit. It's like an in between from like emergency nursing and ICU. And it's sort of like more fast paced, but it's more one on one. But again, the people are sicker. So I did that and still like something was missing. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to school. So I did my master's in clinical nursing. And, I did that and I was like, I'm going to teach because if I can teach, then maybe I can teach students how to, really embrace this idea of healthcare that I envisioned. Went back to school, did that, taught at George Brown for a little bit, was helping with clinical and teaching these student nurses, these aspects of nursing. But there was always a disconnect and I was always searching for an answer. So after that, I became a clinical trial nurse. So I worked in that area. And that was more about like looking for clinical trials and helping people with chronic pain. Again, there was that void, right? And there was always the void, and I was searching for it. At that time, I got pregnant with my first son, and I, was off because I had health complications. And I just really realized that the time that I spent taking care of myself and then eventually having my son, I realized that there is so much more to life than what I was doing. So I actually left nursing at that time because I wanted to have more children. And I really did want more children. I had 4 kids in 3 years. And yeah, and I, just took that time to really understand myself. Now, I want you guys to kind of have this in the background is health and wellness has always been the core of who I am. I became a personal trainer in that time off and I started training people's bodies. But again, knowing that it was not just the physical. So I was doing some coaching at the same time. And then long story short, had lots of kids and then basically decided that I wanted to open my own gym. So I opened my own gym and my marriage at the time fell apart. I remarried somebody. I married somebody else. We opened a gym and it was called Holistic Bodybuilding and Wellness. So taking a very different approach to health and fitness, looking at the person on a holistic level and then working through that. That chapter ended in 2019. Thank God, because that was right before that major thing happened in the world and we would not have survived it.
Yeah.
And I went back and I became a life and health coach. At the same time, I started working with a Bob Proctor coach, someone I think you know, Kathleen Cameron. I was one of her coaches. And I just started really understanding mindset more and understanding the spiritual side of the body and the mind and how you can create whatever you want through the thoughts that you keep and the actions and the belief systems and all those things. As I was working with her, I started to realize that I needed to work for myself. And so I started that chapter. Now, I'm going to say that as I was doing that, there was a crumbling of our family system that happened. And 2020 was a really hard time for a lot of people. And I feel like it really shifted a lot of family dynamics and family systems and just the world in general. And I was also, I had a therapist at the time, and I started to understand how patterns worked and how I was really just repeating a lot of patterns in my life. And as I was doing that, a lot of things started creeping in and a lot of shadow work and me understanding that I had an abandonment wound. And my son at the time was getting ready to go away to school. And that led me down to the road of a deep depression. Never having a history of depression before, never really having anything to do with mental illness. And I really and truly just believed that I had to keep pushing and pushing through it because that's what we were taught, right? And I also believed that because I understood mindset, that I could not tell anybody about what was happening because there was so much shame that I attached to the fact that, you know these things, Robina, and it's all about mindset. And if you understand that if you could just switch your brain and think differently, that you wouldn't experience all these things. And these are the stories that I'm telling myself, not necessarily anyone telling me these things. As I was going through this deep depression, my body was showing various signs of other things too. Like I would still push through, but I recall like trying really hard to get out of bed and crawling to my computer so I could see my online clients and being there, being able to show up for them. So I believe I had high functioning depression. And as soon as I would close my laptop, I would literally crawl back into bed. I had suicidal thoughts. It was really bad. And I wasn't going to ask for help. And coincidentally, my doctor had called me coincidentally that day to just see if I could come in for a checkup. And I was bawling. And I'm so grateful for the receptionist because she knows me. And she said, "You don't sound good. I'm going to get David to call you." And that was my doctor. And he literally called me every week, every Friday at 8:30 a.m. for 5 months. And we really worked through things. I ended up on a very low dose antidepressant. And it's really interesting because as soon as I took that antidepressant, I started feeling better, which is clinically impossible. But because I believed that I was willing to accept help, that things started shifting. And as I was shifting, I knew in the process of this whole depression, something inside of me kept saying, this is all emotional stuff. This is wounds that you have, baggage from, old traumas that you need to work through. And so I started learning as I was going through this, whole thing. I started learning about the works of Dr. Joe Dispenza and learning about frequency and sound healing. And I started to integrate a lot of it into myself and seeking out practitioners that kind of thought along the same pathways as what I intrinsically knew would help me. And then as I was doing that, I started to feel better. And then I realized, you know what, Robina, you have a master's degree. You're always taking courses. Why don't you just do your doctorate and PhD? So I found a school called Quantum University in Hawaii, and they actually blend traditional medicine with quantum physics. And so some of the professors are like Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Goswami. So like all these major players out there that literally think differently and talk about how your thoughts become things and how we can work with the quantum realm. And we're basically looking at how do we quantify this? Because it seems so mystical to so many people. It's the woo-woo, but how do we make it scientific? So in order to complete the program and get the doctorate and the PhD, you have to do a dissertation. And so my dissertation was on looking at neurofeedback and perimenopausal women and looking at sleep and looking at their quality of life and how to improve it through neurofeedback.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that with me.
Lots.
Well, all of us, but I mean, literally, I'm like, I feel like we're having our conversation here. As you share that, can you tell people about the dissertation and what you learned? Because
Yep.
that sounds so fascinating. So you said neurofeedback, perimenopausal women, and quality of sleep?
Quality of life and life.
Okay.
Yes, because the underlying theme for me in my journey was not about depression. I realized that what was happening with me was perimenopause. And so, you can't really test that, right? There's no way of testing it. And so there's a lot of findings that are coming out right now where there's a lot of statistics about women and the amount of women that are on antidepressants and the amount of women that are on anti-anxiety protocols because of what is happening. So if we have a better understanding of perimenopause and the actual stages that women go through, because there's a lot of gaps in knowledge, that we can actually help women thrive through this time in their life. So that's really where my passion is helping high achieving women. Everyone is going through perimenopause. Everyone. You can't bypass it. But how do we help women really navigate those waters in a way that works with their natural cycles versus giving them Band-Aid solutions? So the dissertation itself was a 10-week program that I put my clients on. They were using a device that I use in my practice called the Brain Tap. The Brain Tap is a headset that basically puts you into different brainwave states. You have one?
Is it from Dr. Porter?
Yeah, Dr. Porter is actually my mentor. Yeah.
Okay, I interviewed him on the show and he sent me a Brain Tap. That's so funny. Sorry. I was like, wait a minute.
I wrote the dissertation with Brain Tap. So, yeah, I'm actually on the Brain Tap app. If you have a Brain Tap, I'm literally on the app. We did a whole one on perimenopause. So basically what happened was I did 14 women went through this 10-week program. They were supposed to do the protocol, which was 3 times a day, which is really hard for a lot of people to fit into their life. But every single person, I would tell you that only 2 people did the entire protocol 100%. Everyone else did not. Okay? No, it's 3 people. Sorry. Everyone else did not. Everyone in the study, even the person that did only 7 sessions in 10 weeks, right? So do the math, like they did very little. Everyone had an increased quality of life, decreased their anxiety, increased their mood, and had better sleep.
Okay. This is so fascinating to me. So let's simplify it for people. Why did it improve their quality of sleep?
So basically, there's a lot of different theories, but because if we look at the lens through my lens, is I am trying to help you work on your consciousness, okay? And consciousness is everything, okay? And so if we put you into a meditative state and you get into a relaxed flow state, you are actually less likely to have the symptoms that a lot of us have. So if you notice you're more stressed, your nervous system is more dysregulated, okay, which most people have a dysregulated nervous system, these symptoms are always worse. So if we can help you really get into that restorative brainwave state, which most people are not in through their sleep because most people are not getting good quality sleep, then we can actually help you transform what you're experiencing. So I have a lot of ideas for where I want to take this next step to this research, because I actually want to show, I look at different models of quantum physics and how if we work on the spirituality of a person, so if we work at the top level of you, so your connection to God, source, universe, if we work on that, if we work on the way that you perceive things in life that have happened to you, you can actually, in fact, change your physicality. But you have to have a belief, right? And so if these women that were in this study believed that this study was going to help them, then a lot of times, if you have a belief system that you think something is going to help you, it will help you, right? If you don't believe in quantum physics, if you don't believe that you go to your doctor and your doctor says you have, a 10% chance of living, if you believe what the doctor is telling you, then you are in what's called a quantum entanglement with the doctor. So their belief system affects your belief system. Marsha's just like, whoa.
No, I'm loving, sorry, because this is the truth, right? Like, and what I've dealt with many medical issues throughout my years, and I love my doctor, and I've had many times of almost kind of going toe to toe with like, no, this is not okay. What's my next person I can go see?
Mhm.
But I also know that for many people that's intimidating to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so they don't. And then it's like, well, my doctor said, and I'm like, well, did you ask any other questions? It's like, no. Why? Oh, no, but they said. So it's like, it's so interesting. And I mean, I have a very, very close friend who is a family doctor, and she's like, there's so many things that we have so little schooling on. Like, we are just not the expert when it comes to this, but that's how they are seen. So it's interesting you're just saying this, because I do feel like, how do we support people to have these conversations and ask more questions, as opposed to only buy into the belief of what the doctor is saying?
I really believe that it comes down to trusting yourself. And we've been taught to outsource our self-trust, our intuition, our inner knowing. And it's something that we've been taught for a long time. We're taught to think with our heads and not with our heart. And this is a huge problem. A lot of people that work with me, I have them get back into their body, because I feel like a lot of people don't know what their body is saying to them. So a big portion of the kind of work that I do is asking people to come back to their bodies and starting to trust themselves. So I use different lenses. One of the lenses I use is German New Medicine. It looks at conflict, and it looks at how conflicts have showed up in your life and how you've made them mean. And so when we have different illnesses and different things that show up, usually it's a conflict. Sometimes it's self-devaluation. So we go through and we work through those conflicts to help resolve the issue. Because when we look at the lens of German New Medicine, they do believe that like a lot of the things that manifest in the physical body are a result of these conflicts not being solved. And they have different healing phases and conflict phases and so on and so forth. So I really encourage people to come back to their body and start to question things. Like, we are in a different day and age than our parents and their parents. And it's not about being complacent anymore. It's about trusting yourself and understanding that doctors are human and they do have a body of knowledge, but the body of knowledge is not necessarily the only body of knowledge. I mean, there is so much wisdom out of traditional medicine that is not incorporated into conventional medicine and really should be. And it's also, if you look at the lens of the medical system right now, it is very much driven by pharmaceuticals. And so pharmaceuticals are Band-Aid situations, right? I'm not saying, there's never a place for medicine, because I do believe there is, but I believe, like, why don't we teach people how to take care of themselves first? And then if there's no other alternative, then let's move that way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's powerful. It's really powerful. Something you said earlier too, that I just want to touch on, when you're talking about sleep and rest. And I don't know why this is, but it feels like for women, it's very much that I don't need my sleep, or I get by on a little. And, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I really started to work with somebody on my own nervous system. If you would have told me that I had difficulty with my nervous system, I would have never, I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm the doer. I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. I was definitely not fine. And through this process, it's been a retraining to train myself that I need the sleep and the power of it. And again, I think it kind of goes back to that people don't necessarily know that they're meant to feel better than what they do.
Yeah, like my husband always says, people don't know what feel good feels like.
No.
Because we've been conditioned to, especially in, North America, to keep going and producing all the time. And we're not human doers, we're human beings. And we've been taught to not be. And so a big part of the problem is educating women, especially like somewhere along the lines, we were expected to be a breadwinner, a caregiver, a producer, a wife taking care of the house, cooking meals. Like we've been taught that we have to have every single hat on and do it to excellence, because if you don't do it properly and to this crazy expectation, then you're not a good mom, you're not a good wife, you're not a good woman, you're not a good spouse, and all the things. And so somewhere along the lines, these lines have been really blurred. And what I've noticed is that what is happening right now is very interesting, because a lot of women are recognizing they're not sleeping. A lot of women are recognizing they're exhausted. A lot of women are recognizing they don't have joy. There's a lot of women that are recognizing they're depressed. There's anxiety, there's weight gain, there's all these things. And it's because we are coming into perimenopause and we're losing, our normal estrogen and progesterone levels, and our capacity buffer is gone. And so what's happening now is we're looking at all these hats that we're wearing and we're like, I just don't want to do it anymore. I'm done. I don't have the capacity. I can't pay attention to things. The things that I used to do so easily before, I can't do anymore. And it's because we had this thing that's just slapped us in the face and said, we need to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where the awareness is coming from. So what I would love to say now is like, okay, we have this awareness. Now let's set some healthy boundaries, because somewhere along the line, we've allowed people to create these things on us and we're carrying everybody's stuff and we just don't want to do it anymore.
Well, no, and you're exactly right. It's we're not meant to carry all of that. I also think it's interesting because, we're coming from women who are carrying a lot. And I would say even in the last 3 to 5 years, 5, 6 years ago, I only knew a few women who were building an online business. Now, firsthand, like I can off the top of my head, whole names of women who are building incredible businesses that are changing their whole family's future. And yet they're still carrying every single other plate that they carried. And now it's like, well, why am I struggling with this? I'm like, you look at what you're doing. Like you can't possibly carry all of that at once. So it's just been very interesting to watch it from this lens, because I see so many women now, which God bless them. And I love being one. I want to continue to be one in this area, but building businesses that can help a lot of people. We also have to recognize that doesn't mean I can all of a sudden add 20 plates to the 50 I was carrying and then be angry at myself because I feel like it's too much.
Yeah. I teach a lot of my clients about the idea of grace and, and honoring themselves. And it's really hard for a lot of women. It's like incrementally, I have to teach them how to do that, because there's a lot of guilt associated with self-love. I'm not even going to say self-care, because I think that whole term has been taken to a whole different context. That's not really what it's about. But it's like that self-love and coming back to yourself and challenging the narrative about, if you choose you first, that it's selfish. And I just don't think it is. I think that if I can show up for myself being regulated, and I could be more present for my kids, I could be better for my clients, I could be a better wife, I can be a better chef at home. Like I can do so many things more better because I'm literally taking care of myself. And so we really have to shift that. And then it just takes one woman saying to another woman, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I think would be of support to you. or for them to look for evidence, right? Because we know the brain usually looks for evidence for the wrong things to support what we, think are limitations. But if we could start looking for the things that are right, then we can start cultivating more of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I do believe like we will find whatever we're looking for. So if you can train your brain to go and see and go find. There's so much evidence that I have now found of women who are building incredible businesses while prioritizing their health, their self-care, their rest, their boundaries. It exists. It exists. And I see it. And that's such an important piece. When you're talking about grace and releasing guilt, and if you could, with all of your experience and just your knowledge, what is guilt doing to women right now?
Oh man, I think that's a silent killer. Yeah, it eats them away in a way that maybe can't be seen physically. So if I scan your nervous system, I can literally see what it's doing to your body.
Wow.
And so part of the technology that we use is literally about teaching you, okay, the stress is eating you away. And the stress, like most people don't think they're stressed. That's the crazy thing. It's because their new norm is that stress state.
Yes.
And so when they can see something that's quantifiable, then it helps them kind of wake up a little bit. So I think that the stress and the guilt is literally, it's eating us away, and we really have to nip it.
Okay. Can you explain how you quantify it? And what do you use tools wise, technique wise?
So there's a few things. The neural check is something that is affiliated with the brain tap. It's a device that I look at your HRV and it tells me what your autonomic nervous system is doing. From there, it can also tell us brainwave state-wise, like how your brain is processing things. Is it down regulating? It can tell me what your biological age is versus your actual age. So I have one woman who is in her early 60s, and she's functioning like a 73-year-old. There's a lot of women that are in their 40s and they're functioning in their mid 50s or 60s because of the stress. It'll also tell me how your thoracic or your vertebrae and all of the cranial nerves that are branching off from that are getting nourished as well. And each cranial nerve that is from your spine, it literally feeds various organs as well. So it's really interesting because I can pick up on like it, do you have bowel movement issues if it is related to your coccyx, or, maybe you've had migraines and it's showing up in your top of your head. So there's a whole bunch of different things that it shows me. And then I can do a brain tap session and it will help you down regulate. And within one session, we can actually see that shift. And then the other thing that I do is I do auriculotherapy. So using the traditional Chinese medicine or European belief system. I have some ear seeds in my ear right now for perimenopause that I do for myself. So that's another thing that because I'm working with your meridians, which nourish various organs. And then I do biofield tuning, which is frequencies using tuning forks to help release stuck energy that is in your biofield. So your biofield is 5 feet diameter on both sides of you and literally can tell you information from preconception to current day. So there's a whole bunch of different things that I usually utilize to do that. But it's really about you feeling supported and secure. Because one of the things that I've noticed, especially with women, is they don't feel seen, especially right now. So working with somebody that understands what they're going through, but at the same time can see them not for who they're being, but who they truly are, and help them kind of pull apart some of the things that they feel like they have to do because those were trauma responses for being seen in the world. So this overachiever is a lot of the time that person because they've been seen by doing instead of just being themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was completely called out on that one. It's just such a being real. It's so interesting because, again, when you spend your life as the doer, your praise as the doer, you accomplish a lot as the doer.
Yeah.
It's
So good.
amazing. It's
When it
amazing.
happens.
And then it's like, wait, peace and pause. No, that feels unsafe. Like that does not feel. I've had to rewire and retrain that it's okay to have downtime. It's actually required
Yeah.
and to honor that. So I love that you're having these conversations.
But the other thing I will add is that you see a lot of high achieving women, they don't just come to me because they know they're tired. It usually happens when there's a health crisis. So we do know that people only change for two things. One is impact, so health challenge, death in the family, something along those lines, or through repetition. And so most people don't change until they feel like they have no other way to do it. So one of the things that I really am trying to like put out there is that we need to be preventative here. Like the body can hold so much, and the body is talking to us all the time. And even for myself, you know, prior to the depression, I bypassed symptoms of fibromyalgia, and I bypassed symptoms of I couldn't get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
I was being lazy with air quotations because that was the narrative that I had. And I was always rewarded for the accolades. So I didn't know how to listen to myself. I didn't know how to just pay attention to those inner pangs. And that's one of the things that I teach is like, you got to start listening to your body. Like your body is talking to you. That is our intelligence that we have, especially as women.
It is speaking to you. And so it's interesting because you said earlier about being seen. And this is like something that comes up, I would say, with majority of the clients who come into my world is wanting to be seen, but have never been seen, or it's not safe to be seen. And it's always interesting because I think that, you know, we might feel that we want to be seen by others, but when I start asking questions of like, do you see you? And how do you see yourself? And it's almost this discomfort of like, oh no, it's just like, because if I say, no, I need a day to myself, it's exactly what my body is saying. That doesn't mean that you're not successful. It doesn't mean anything. It's like, what is your body saying? And so I always have this, I'm sure we could go a deep dive on my own health issues, which you and I will do one day. But this piece of seeing yourself and listening. So I have this beautiful relationship with my body where I move it and do things, but every day I'm like, what do you need today? And some days it needs a workout. Some days it needs strength. Some days it needs a long walk. Some days it needs a long meditation. But like, what do you need? And it has built a beautiful relationship that I never had before. And that helps you to see yourself too.
Oh, for sure. But there is such a big disconnect. So I always say the women I see are always so brilliant and they know what to think, right? So cognitively, we know what we want, right? I want to be seen. I want to be loved. I want all these things. But subconsciously, that is the disconnect. So there is no coherence happening between the head and the heart.
Yep.
And so I want to try and get into the heart because a lot of women and men have heart walls. We've blocked ourselves from a lot of things. So it's teaching you incrementally over time how to trust that inner self. So it's small things in a big way, right? So that's a lot of the work that I do is like, I'm going to teach you how to feel safe, but I need to teach the body in small increments because the body is ready for you to like have a nervous breakdown, to lose your, you know, your stuff on your loved one, to feel stressed, like to get into fight or flight, right? The body is used to that. And so we have to teach it. I always say, like, if I had like one of those, I say protractor because I feel like that would make people understand the most, but it's literally like a half a circle and 0 is like on one side and that's rest and recovery. And 100 is the stress side. And so what our body is saying is like, well, we got to go from 0 to 100 every time she gets stressed. But this girl is stressed all the time, not just from her thoughts, from her environment, from like the things that she's doing. She's working out hard, all the things. So my body is like, well, why am I going to bring Robina all the way back to 100 when I know tomorrow she's going to go back to 100? So I'm just going to hover around 75, right? So I want to teach the body like, okay, maybe today is 75, but we go back into stress and let's teach the body, okay, this time it feels a little bit safe to hover around 60, you know, and over time, we're going to teach the body how to do that more through repetition.
That is beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful because I love the language and And what you're saying and what you're sharing, I have to say, I have not heard a lot of professionals speak like this or share this work. I have not, and I love it. I think it's very, very valuable because what I do see is a lot of women searching, like
Mhm.
searching for answers, but almost like not sure where to go. And so I love this work that you're doing.
There's an overload of information, that's for sure.
Mhm.
I mean, even for myself, I mean, I was a competitive fitness model. You hear all these things that we have to do, and I'm just like, my body is confused. Like, my body
Confusing.
just needs to feel safe,
Mhm.
whatever I'm doing. So now it's almost like I ask, just like you, like I asked myself. So, we could talk a little bit about that trauma that happened, but I had to ask myself the other day, what do I need?
Mhm.
And
And that's
I knew I needed to run.
yeah.
Yeah, because that was a way in the past that it helped me process a lot of things.
Mhm.
And it was for me, the way I see my running is like a meditation. And because I get into that flow state. So I meditate, like I do that too. But there's something about, so the way I equate when I do run is, and I'm talking like a full sprint, but I'm allowing my body to let the energy move through me versus stay in me. And I feel strong, I feel empowered, and it took me a while. I haven't ran in a while because I had lots of ailments and things like that from the depression and from, gaining the weight and, my body, I couldn't physically run.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting because on Monday, when I got that call, or on Tuesday, I said to my husband, I just need to run. And he was like, well, then you need to run. And I was so gentle with my body in doing it, but I just listened to it, So for me, it used to be always about, okay, I got to do like 5K, and like, and it'd be interesting because I used to do the Peloton and my husband would come downstairs and ask me a question. I'm like, how can you ask me that? I was focusing on passing all those people. I'm not going to pass them again. And now, yeah, my brain was a little insane.
It's okay. I get it.
And now I'm just like, no, you know what? I'm going to run for a minute and a half and I'm going to walk for 3 minutes and I'm going
Beautiful.
to my body. And it's like the relationship that I'm having with self is so different than the grinding that body into the ground and doing it because I had to do it, versus now it's like I get to.
Mhm. It's a beautiful relationship with self.
Yeah.
And as you build that relationship with yourself, you also build more trust within yourself because of that. I know you recently experienced something that should not have happened to you, and you did share it openly on your podcast. And I think here is another experience where it's almost like you had to step up and this is how I lead. This is what I do. And oh, look, now I have to do it in my own life. This is what,
Yeah.
yeah.
I will talk about it. Yeah. It's so funny because, we talk about the self-care. And so massage for me has never been the big thing, right? My husband gets massaged every week. And for me, that doesn't bring me peace and joy and all the things. And I went to a women's networking event in April and I felt like my nervous system, I was paying attention to my nervous system the whole time. And it was in Florida and it was overwhelming. And I left the first day, I went and sat by the pool. Like I was listening to my body.
Mhm.
And when I came back, I was feeling a little disheveled. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go for a lymphatic drainage massage. And my sister had recommended a place. And no, her, like, it's
No,
not,
but I'm sure she feels is what
oh,
I'm.
yeah, she does. So she had recommended a place and I got the name and I was like, and mind you, I've had several lymphatic massages. So I got the name and it was local, so someone really close. And I was like, yeah, I got it. And I was like, okay, like I've had massages for men before, whatever. But it's funny, my intuition, the very first day, it said something, but I was like, well, she recommended it, so I might as well go.
Mhm.
Well, that was that. So then I got an appointment. So this was like the Monday. I got an appointment for the Friday morning at 8 a.m. It's funny because I was thinking I'm going to do a whole post about lymphatic drainage and why it's important. So I actually videoed myself the day of walking into the place. And I get there, and then the gentleman shows up, and the place was kind of like empty. So it wasn't like a nasty place. Like, it's a place that is a local place with registered massage therapists. So, it was a reputable place. And I got there and I sat down. And when he came into the room, he said, "Okay, I just want to let you know, this is a very sensitive massage." And I'm thinking, okay, like, I've had lymphatic drainage massages before. Like, so he was like, but it involves like the groin area, the buttocks, and the breast area. And I was like, okay, like, I just thought, I know where the lymph nodes are. You're going to go under my armpit and like
Yeah.
at the exterior. You've had one before?
Yeah, I know. I know where the lymph nodes are. I understand exactly what you're saying.
So I'm like, the exterior of the breast, like, no problem. So I had to sign a consent form. So I signed the consent form. And I was like, this is kind of weird. I haven't done that before, but okay. So I lie down, and the first whistle that should have gone off was I lied down, and it was like a very sheer blanket. And I was like, that's weird. So I doubled it up, right? I doubled it up. So I had my underwear on, but I doubled it up. Anyways, long story short, he put like a towel over my eyes, which I've never had before, but I was like, okay, this is weird, but maybe this is the way it's done because I was referred here. So I'm gaslighting myself the entire time. So I lie down, and then he gets to my chest, and he was like, okay, we're going to remove the towel. So I said, okay, thinking he's just going to roll it over just a little bit, not expose my whole chest. Well, the whole thing was exposed, and each side of my chest was massaged for over 10 minutes. The massage was actually an hour and a half long. And through the whole thing, I was just feeling very violated and asking myself, is this normal? This is not normal. How can this be? Like, why is he massaging so much there? I literally went into freeze mode.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone that does this work, I was gaslighting myself even more so, because I'm like, how could this be? How can I not? I was paralyzed. I dissociated from my body. And I can say this now because I've cried a lot. I've had a very difficult experience kind of releasing this. But I came home after I left. So I'm grateful that it was only my upper body that was violated. But when I left, I messaged my sister and I said, that was the weirdest massage I've ever had. Has he massaged your breast? And she said, well, yeah, but like, so he kind of integrated working on your chest very aggressively into the massage. So you would feel the pumping like normal. It was weaved into it. Mm-hmm. So I came home. I actually told my children, I have not adult, I have 21, a 19 and an 18-year-old, and their dad. I told them what happened and my husband, and they said, you have to call the police. So I called the police, and the police came to the house, and they were like, listen, you could go to, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically the domestic abuse. It's called DAS at the hospital. I had to go in there. They swabbed my chest. They took my clothes, like, for evidence. It was something. It was pretty much a full day's event. And then I was like traumatized for many weeks. Would have nightmares every time. Even if my husband came near my chest, I was like, you can't. Like, I just felt very violated. And I had to do a lot of work on myself. I was getting something called body talk done. I don't know if you know body talk. Yep. So I have someone that I go to. I went to her, and she was like, this is all in your nervous system. It is in your blood. It is in your lungs. And I was doing a brain tap session, and I was lying down, and this was like right after it happened. And I felt like I was choking. And it's funny because the way I think about it is my throat chakra closed. And so I was lying down. And so when you're doing a brain tap, you're kind of consciously unconscious, like you're in between brainwave states. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I was doing that like the whole time because I was trying to move this energy that was in there. So I worked through that. And, I kind of dealt with it to a certain degree. I mean, it's still there, but I'm just giving all of my power to it. And then on Monday that just passed, I got a phone call from the the Crown Attorney, and they said that they did not charge him because I signed a consent form, and it is deemed that it was not sexual in nature, and that there was also no, they could not convict him without a benefit of, or without doubt, because of the consent form. So, yeah. So I strategically took that phone call right outside of my body talk practitioner's office, and I was convulsing in the car.
Mm.
And when I went up to see her, she was like, "It is in your stomach." She's like, "We need to reprogram your stomach." She's like, "It's in your lungs." And I was like, and yesterday, the day before this ruling came out, I had that breathing again.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, we worked through it, and it was really interesting because my stomach I gained 13 pounds since the incident, and my stomach has been off. And it's so funny. She worked on me, and then at the end of that day, I had like this major release. Um, so, doing that sort of stuff. And then I have protocols that I use on myself. I actually recorded another podcast as a follow-up that's releasing on Monday to just talk about what I'm doing to work through it. But what I have done is I believe that there is one judge, and I believe that God will take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. And I don't need to take any more steps. I think my job is just to talk about what happened and let women know that, gosh, you got to trust your intuition. And sometimes it's going to be hard, and just pay attention to what you're feeling. And, even myself, someone who is very, educated on this, like when you get into a trauma cycle and you're in freeze, your prefrontal cortex, which is your decision making and everything that allows you to make choices, freezes. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I don't shame myself or anything like that. I recognize where I was and what happened, and I just decided to teach my way through it. So that's what I did.
Thank you for sharing everything that you did and in the way that you've done it, and also how you've had to navigate that and see it that way. And you did use your voice, you did speak, you did put yourself out there. And I do believe that this is not the first time he has done this.
Oh,
I
I
do
already know.
believe
Yeah.
that there is more and more, and sometimes it can take one or two people that tip the scale, and unfortunately, it can take that for something to come to light. What I do think is really powerful in how you've shared it, and I appreciate this, is that even when we have like great awareness, good understanding, like we can still freeze ourselves and gaslight ourselves in ways. I've done it.
Yeah.
There have been times, there was one time in particular where I was like, I must be misunderstanding what they're saying. Like I can look back at it and going like, why is that the first thought? Is that you're misunderstanding what is happening? But we can do that to ourselves. And the way you've just shared all of this, I really do appreciate it because I know it's going to support somebody. So thank you for being so open and vulnerable.
I just really feel like the work never ends.
Oh my
That's
God.
the thing that
No.
people need to know. Like, you could be whoever. Like, life will always life you. It's about chiseling us and preparing us for that next level. And I had to ask. It's funny because I have a strong faith, and when I had my depression, I was doing breath work, and I had a vision of Jesus, which I was not religious at all. And so I actually tattooed the vision on my arm. And so in the middle of the massage, I'm literally looking at this arm, and I was praying. And what's interesting to me is like, I really and truly believe that I was put in that situation to figure out trauma on a different level,
Yeah.
help myself really work through it. But also, I am really like the biggest person that believes in being vulnerable. And if I can help you shortcut your journey through my story, then I will I would be glad to do that. Because if I had known that something like this could have happened to me, then maybe I would have been more diligent. Maybe I would have listened to those inner pangs a little bit louder. And so if someone's hearing it, like, you know what to expect with the lymphatic massage. You know what to expect in any position that you're in with someone of power. And, and understanding that just because somebody has some authority in whatever capacity it is, it doesn't mean they have to have authority over you. You're in a relationship, a working relationship with whoever it is, doctor, whoever, right? And it's like we partner, we learn from each other. Those days of like, you're up here and I'm down here, those are gone. Those days are gone.
They're gone. They're so gone. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Robina, for sharing that, because again, I am always a person that the vulnerable piece, the stories, sharing it, connecting is, I'll do it all the time, because it really, if I can help someone else on their journey, especially when it helps someone else to realize they're not alone. Like, it's like, wait, that's not just me. No, it's not just you. So it's beautiful. How do people connect with you and like work with you? What does that look like?
Yeah. So everyone can find me on Instagram at Root of Healing, ROUTE of healing.com, or Root of Healing on Instagram. I do have a podcast also called The Woman Behind the Win. And it's literally helping women tell their stories, but letting them tell the stories that is not the Instagram reel that we all think is happening. Like, I want to hear the backstory of what happened. So that I really want women to see themselves in our journeys so that we can help one another. And then also, I usually do one-on-one, but I typically work with women on a 6-month basis. And then I do some other little things too, like here and there, like nervous system resets. I can do a one of. But yeah, I'm in the process of trying to figure out what my practice looks like. Do I want an in-person practice? My goal is to have a traveling practice where I'm in different clinics all over the world for a few days. That's where my heart really wants to be.
Beautiful. Well, and then that's how it's going to unfold, because that's
I know.
essentially what you want, right? As soon as you keep saying that. So it's awesome. I will make sure everything is there in the show notes to connect with people. I love this conversation. I always have one question, and it is, what lesson in life are you most grateful for?
I just think the lesson in life that I'm most grateful for is the adversity. Like, it really is. It's not been an easy life, that's for sure. From divorce to depression to, growing up with some domestic abuse and, and just all the yucky stuff in between. But it really is making me who I am. And sometimes when you're in it, you can't see it. And that's the beauty of learning how to step outside. That's why meditation is so beautiful, because it actually gives you that space and you can actually see things for what they are versus when you're in it, you just are overwhelmed by it. So yeah, I would say it's the adversity.
Amazing. That speaks volumes, because when you can actually look at some of the hardest parts of your life and recognize that you wouldn't be who you are today or doing the work that you're doing without it. Yeah, I always joke that, yeah, sure, I would have loved to have learned it from a book, but that's not how it worked. And I wouldn't be doing what I do today. So I am grateful for the lessons.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh my gosh. So grateful that our paths have connected. And I know this is not our last conversation. So
Right. Thank you.